Welcome to the Divorce Diaries podcast. One man's anonymous and live account of if he should get a divorce or stay married. He's been cheated on, and he's cheated. Protecting the innocent with changed voice patterns, the omission of names, ages, and genders. His authentic journey and account of the daily events of his marriage are helping him sort out his feelings and not get lost in the ups or the downs. New episodes are released daily. Welcome to the Divorce Diaries podcast. Entire seasons are released on Patreon weeks before anywhere else at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Link in description. Now for today's episode.
Recording this on July 22nd, 2021. This is the rebooted, I guess, Divorce Diaries podcast, where I just talk about things in a non-angry way. My diary before, with my first bunch of episodes released, it was just angry, tantrum-filled rants, but now it's a very rounded out perspective of a man that you are going to be listening to from here on out. If I decide to publish anything ever again, I am currently living by myself. We had a family dog, and for the time being, he's with me, and he may I may have to rehome him because of some difficult stuff coming up, and we're no longer family. Everything that I did before was because of the family trajectory and family quote-unquote goals that I felt my wife and I had together. And now that life is fastly moving away from me, it's the feeling of both loss and loss let's try that again. The feeling of loss and the feeling of being lost are things that I am experiencing right now. I didn't realize what my wife was doing positive in my life. I am a very critical person, and all I could see was my wife's flaws. To which, to be fair, there are many. But that is the same thing with me. I have many, many, many flaws. I would say that I have more flaws than she does. And even if I don't have more flaws than she does, the flaws that I have far outweigh hers. But just to talk a little bit about flaws, that is not what this podcast is supposed to be about. This diary entry is supposed to be about. This diary entry is supposed to be about how you end up getting hardened and how you end up being who you are. But I do want to talk about flaws for a second, because imagine if anyone has played a sport, imagine the feeling that you have when you are maybe even acutely aware of the things that you don't do well. Let's take soccer, for instance. You're not good at dribbling the ball. You're great at kicking it really far, and you're good at throwing it, and you're good at being a goalie, but you're not good at dribbling the ball. So it's just basically shuffling from foot to foot, kicking the ball with the inside of your foot, knowing when to turn to the outside of your foot and kick it to the other side and try to kind of cross up people as a soccer player. If you don't know how to do that, and you're coming to practice and your coach doesn't say anything about the way that you throw the ball back into play and how your form and your step and your strength and the distance at which you can throw the ball and your accuracy are so great, or the fact that you can kick the ball from the goal to midfield, and it's just, you are a really talented, strong soccer player, and one of your deficiencies is dribbling. And every time you come to practice, that coach just says like, here we go, the goofy dribbler. Oh, here we go. Oh, you're going to dribble any better than you did yesterday today? Oh, you're going to do this? You are going to, as the coach, you're going to likely alienate your best goalie and maybe even your best defender, or whatever true talents they have are. You're going to affect them when they're playing the other parts of the game. The parts when you're practicing, you're trying to coach through dribbling drills and things like that. You're going to probably kill the morale of that person, the attitude and the spirit of that person, by always highlighting what they don't do well and not having anything positive to say about the things they do well. And that was the type of husband that I was. I will say that was the type of husband that I am. And my wife, despite all of that, she still wanted to paint the rooms different colors and give the kids a good time, spend money that maybe we didn't have, but we also didn't not have the money either. Like we weren't going to go broke. When I acted like the sky was falling, we're going to go broke. We weren't. But I had the attitude, the energy that we would, and I will put that on her. And why don't you understand this money thing? Why don't you this? Why don't you that? There's a guy online that I listen to and watch on YouTube. His name's Kevin Samuels. And he has a quote. And his quote is, pressure is made for shoulders, not for hips. And I believe that to a degree, because I know that when I had certain pressures on my shoulders, I typically would childishly talk to my wife about them, lay them at her feet, burden her with my troubles. And I would look through the lens of, hey, these are my troubles and they're financial, but all the financial stress and fruit goes to you and the family. So in my thinking before, I'll tell her about all the stress. I'll tell her about all the problems. I'll tell her about all the issues. I'll tell her. And that really showed poor leadership on my part. And because she couldn't do anything to quote unquote help, or she couldn't do what I wanted her to do in help, which was basically just, make more money, or don't work this dead end job, or don't take off these days, or, how are we going to have money if you do. I was just such a critical person, and I killed her happiness, and I killed whatever happiness we could have had in our marriage, all in the name of being righteous. So I guess that's a good segue into what this episode was supposed to be about, which is, how do you end up becoming hardened? And how did I end up becoming hardened? Keep in mind, I don't have any excuses for the shitbag of a husband that I was. What I do have is now an understanding of the fact that I am and was a shitbag husband. And not shitbag like, oh yeah, I come home, break my foot off in my wife's ass, whatever, do some shit. No. The feeling of your pilot not being in control of the plane was probably the most tumultuous environment I could have created for my wife. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. I created nothing. I created some positive things, I'll be fair to myself, but where it counted, where it mattered, day in, day out, I did not love her. And I felt the pressures and the stress of life. I didn't have a lot of guidance with things coming up. A lot of us didn't. I mean, seriously, there's maybe a roadmap that is regurgitated to you by family, friends, parents. Get good grades, go to school, graduate, get a good job, get married, start a family, retire, die. That's pretty much the roadmap for most people. You could take some of those things out and substitute maybe college for trade school potentially, or change this for that, whatever. You could change a few things. But there's a roadmap. And if you don't do some of those things, things can go a little bit sideways for you. Or so you think. So I'm just kind of out figuring life out by myself, and met my wife, and things are going okay. But because I don't know where to go or what to do, I'm just feeling nothing but stress. But I don't think I'm feeling stressed because I've got a job, so things are okay. I don't make a lot of money, but I kind of make enough money. So it's like, is this how things are supposed to go, or am I supposed to be more prosperous by now? Oh, you want the kids to go to this?
She's a runner, she's a track star. She gonna run away when it gets hot.
sorry about that, it's my ringer. You really want people to I'm sorry, lost my train of thought thanks to that. My wife comes to me and she may say, hey, I want the kids to go to this camp. And this camp is, say, $500 a week or something like that. Money that I don't have. I then recoil into myself. And then after I recoil into myself, I explode in anger. Really, I'm exploding in fear, but it's presenting very much like anger. How are we supposed to afford that? Why would you even suggest that? Don't you know we don't have the money for this? Don't you get it? Don't you understand? And thinking to myself, are you stupid? That's what I'm literally talking to. You must be stupid. No one in their right mind, no one that's got a brain would think. Horrible way to be as a husband. Because her perspective is she's just like, I just want something good for the kids. I just want something good for the kids. Why? Well, can we find? I'm just telling you, I want something good for the kids, and I can't just get on board with that and try to find a way. See if we can cut back somewhere. See if I can get another job. But she didn't deserve that anger. She doesn't deserve that frustration. But I just keep doing it, and I kept doing it, and it just hardened me and hardened me and hardened me. And it's just like anything else, like a bone break or something. It just calcifies. If you don't recognize that there's a break, you just keep using it. And it just keeps getting harder and harder and harder. And then you got this lump. And I just developed a lump. I just developed a lump from the lack of guidance that I had. Then how I had to like figure things out by myself. Then I took on a partner and I just kind of said, well, I'm figuring things out by myself. Figure it out with me. And come along. Hurry up. It's just horrible. And I just got so hard. And my father wasn't the best. He's an alcoholic. And he was verbally, mentally, physically abusive. I won't necessarily say he was physically abusive, and I'll be clear about why. Did he hit me? Yeah. Did he spank me? Yeah. It was usually when I did something bad, and I would say I deserve it, and I am a fan of corporal punishment. But maybe the way it was applied was too harsh or out of anger, or maybe it was taken out on me because it was someone else. It had to do with someone else. So, and verbally, maybe not so much. I mean, he was, as time went on, he was definitely verbally abusive, but then emotionally, yeah, over the course of the rest of my life, yeah, he has been pretty emotionally abusive. So having a father like that was really hard, and that hardened me. And having a mom that sort of manipulated situations and tried her best not to face facts, she hardened me in that way too, because I kind of didn't know how to move through life and accept people for their authentic ways that they were. She always wanted me to sort of be better, and I brought that to my marriage so I could be better. Make sure my wife will be better. Make sure my kids will be better. I never just let them be. So that's what hardened me. And if you're listening to this, maybe take some time to figure out what hardened you. Because we all are hardened, and we're all broken, and we all probably could use a really, really good dose of therapy. And if you think you're the bang-up wife, maybe take a real hard look in the mirror like I had to. I really, really thought that I was a really, really great husband. Looking back now, I was far more delusional than I ever thought my wife was. She wasn't delusional at all with just about anything at all. She was probably delusional when it came to dealing and putting up with my shit. But she was not as delusional as I tried to make her out to be. Oh my gosh. She tolerated and put up with so much for me that it's really no surprise that I am where I am. That I am living by myself without my kids and my wife. And that's exactly where I want to be. But I had to learn the hard way that, I just had to learn the hard way. And it took losing everything for me to finally see, like, oh, this is what you had. You were lucky. And life is long, but it's also short. Got to get our shit together. I have to get my shit together.
Wow. That was the Divorce Diaries podcast. The Daily Saga will continue tomorrow. The full season's episodes are on Patreon now. Subscribe for early access. Click the Patreon link in the description. Hopefully, these entries help our anonymous recorder as a form of his own personal therapy. That's his hope and his intention. Will these recordings of life's curveballs lead this family to the best resolution in the end? We'll keep listening. New episodes are released daily on all podcast players, but all episodes are available on Patreon at Divorce Diaries Podcast Patreon page. Until next time.